In this video I want to talk about the attacks on certain Indian nationals there in the last little while. I was watching the news there last night, the RT news, and it reported that the Indian Day, or India Day rather, which was scheduled for this Sunday, was in Farmley in the Phoenix Park, has been cancelled due to safety concerns. And this arises in the context of a spate of recent attacks, or certainly attacks that have become more focused in the media on Indian nationals in Ireland. I want to talk about my experience with Indian nationals since I first set up as a solicitor in 2011. But before that, I want to give some context to the particular problem that I want to discuss. So, according to the Irish Times, Gardaí are struggling to reassure Indian community amid a spate of high-profile attacks. There's no statistical indication of a rising threat to Indians, but that is a hard message to deliver. There seems to have been a spate of random, unprovoked attacks on Indian nationals in Ireland recently, and it's got quite a bit of attention, international media attention, especially in India. Large Indian media outlets have featured dozens of articles on the attacks, with headlines such as, quote, "Indian taxi driver rang doorbells after racist attack in Ireland, no one helped." That's in the Hindustani Times on August the 5th. Online, there was an open letter from a lady describing herself as an Indian nurse in Ireland, and she recounted witnessing a group of Irish teens surrounding an 8-year-old Indian girl. They were pushing her, they were bullying and laughing for no reason, just because she looked different. I helped her escape. They ran, and I stood there shaking, wondering what kind of place this is becoming. And that would make you embarrassed, quite frankly, and ashamed to be an Irish person. Warnings from the Indian Embassy in Dublin have served to escalate worries amongst the almost 80,000 Indians living in Ireland. There has been an increase in the instances of physical attacks reported against Indian citizens in Ireland recently, the embassy said in a statement. It advised Indian nationals to take reasonable precautions for their personal security and avoid deserted areas, especially in odd hours. Gardaí concede that there has been an increase in racially motivated attacks in recent years. These range from abuse and intimidation to serious assaults. In some cases, such as the violent attack on an Indian tech worker in Tala last month, the incidents are accompanied by false claims that the victim was a threat to women or children. There were 676 hate crimes and hate-related incidents in the state in 2024. According to Garda sources, that number is on track to increase this year. However, there's little statistical evidence to show Indian nationals are being singled out, Gardaí say. Sources stress they're not downplaying the attacks which have occurred, neither are they saying racism is not a motive in at least some of them. What they are saying is that Indians living in Ireland have no more reason to feel afraid than they did a few months ago. It's a difficult message to get out there without it being seen as an attempt to minimise the genuine and understandable fear felt by the Indian community, said one source. An added hurdle is the difficulty in prosecuting perpetrators of hate crimes. Legislation introduced earlier this year mandated tougher sentences for crimes motivated by hatred. However, so far, the Director of Public Prosecutions has set a high bar for designating an offence as a hate crime, said one source. There's growing pressure on the force from prominent community figures and the government, which is particularly worried about Ireland's reputation overseas. Last week, Ireland's ambassador to India wrote an op-ed in an Indian newspaper saying the attacks could not be further from the values Ireland holds dear. In response, Garda management is trying to find a way of getting two messages to the Indian community. The first is that there has been no dramatic uptick in violence against Indians. The second is that if a person is attacked, they're urged to come forward and the matter will be treated seriously and with compassion. In this regard, Garda engagement with various groups representing the Indian community is ongoing, and the force had also planned to attend events surrounding India Day this Sunday to further reassure people. However, that event has been cancelled. due to safety concerns. That's the event that was to take place in Farmley in the Phoenix Park. That report is from Conor Gallagher in the Irish Times, and that gives you some context to what I'm going to say. I have dealt with Indian nationals, Indian people, since 2011 when I qualified as a solicitor, and I have always found them to be well educated, working in good jobs, a lot of them in the health sector, in the HSE, doctors, nurses and so forth, a lot of them engineers, computer programmers and so on, many in white collar jobs, but well educated, respectful, dignified people who hold family values very highly, who are very seldom in trouble, in difficulty in the courts, and I have found them to be honest, decent, straightforward, respectful, hard-working people, and I have never had a difficulty, quite frankly, with an Indian client. And they're buying houses, they are progressing, they are working hard, and you will very seldom see, as I say, Indian nationals in the courts for crimes and stuff like that. But of all of the communities, of all of the non-Irish nationals, people who have come to Ireland, in the last 20 or 30 years, the Indian community with whom I have been lucky enough to deal with have been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure, and it's a shocking scenario. It's a shocking situation that people are being attacked because they look different, or because they have brown skin, or because they look different from us, or they're not white. It's absolutely shocking that feral Irish people, unfortunately, in some instances, or in many instances, are attacking these people, decent, hard-working people, doctors and nurses and taxi drivers and so on, as a consequence of the colour of their skin or whatever. It is absolutely appalling, and it's embarrassing. As an Irishman, I'm a proud Irishman, but I'm absolutely embarrassed and ashamed, quite frankly, that there are stories being run in the international media and in India about these attacks on Indian nationals in Ireland. It is absolutely appalling. And to think that parents and grandparents and great-grandparents of ours have gone abroad, have gone to the UK, have gone to London, have gone to Kilburn, have gone to Boston, have gone to New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, gone to Canada and Australia, and Irish people have been welcomed and have done well and prospered everywhere they went. And to think that Irish people would have been attacked and physically abused and physically attacked as a consequence of being either white or being Irish is an appalling situation, an appalling vista to actually consider. And as it happens, I have a child out foreign at the moment in Canada, and to think that she might be targeted or attacked because she is white, or because she's Irish, or because she's different from the native population, or perceived to be different, is just a desperate situation. I hope these attacks, I hope people stand up, I hope people make the Indian community, Indian nationals, understand that these feral attacks by mindless, foolish, slack-jawed individuals are not representative of the rest of us, and that we hold the Indian community and Indian nationals in the highest regard. I do anyway, and all I can do, I suppose, is speak for myself. But I did see on the news last night that one of the community leaders from the Indian community felt it would be useful if Irish people actually made public their support for Indian nationals and so forth in the Irish community, and that's what I'm doing now. And anyway, that's what I have to say. My experience with the Indian nationals, with Indian clients, since I qualified as a solicitor in 2011, has been absolutely impeccable, stellar, and I have always found them, as I say, to be the most decent, hard-working, well-educated, family-oriented people you could come across. Hope you liked the video.